Hello everyone. So this is the first of loads of events we're going to be doing. A lot of the events will be done live. But this one, because it is a very important topic, but it's more in response to a specific question that we had from one of our members. So I'm doing this as a pre-recorded, but will be shared for everybody to watch back. It will then be available in the guide section along with all the other talks that I'm going to be doing, and they're all going to be tools in your tool belt to help you on your journeys. So I had a question last week regarding emotional eating. So I've created this whole document or slideshow so I can do a little presentation for you or a talk for you today on emotional eating and give you some tips to help that, because I know emotional eating is something that most of us struggle with. And obviously as this talk goes on, you're going to understand that, emotional eating isn't inherently bad. It's when it becomes bad and how we can help that. So let's dive in. So emotional eating. So what is emotional eating? So emotional eating is the tendency to eat in response to a set of affective cues. It's usually viewed negatively. However, sometimes it can be necessary. Okay, so what I mean by that is if I had a really, really crap day, you might want to grab your favorite snack. And you know what? Momentarily, it probably may feel you better and you should be able to move on from that. It only becomes a problem if it's taken too far. So if you're losing control over what you're eating, so if you're having a bad day, and like I said, you go and grab a donut, it might cheer you up. However, if you're grabbing a pack of donuts and eating them all, that's not great, is it? That's not going to help you. So why do we emotionally eat? So there are both physiological and psychological reasons why we emotionally eat. So physiologically, certain emotions can release cortisol. Now, this is a stress hormone, and that can actually increase your appetite. So there is actually a physiological response that can happen to cause you to emotionally overeat. And then psychologically, you can, or most of the time it's because you're eating to momentarily numb certain emotions. So things like feeling sad, lonely, angry, these can all trigger a need to eat to numb that feeling. So emotions cause us to eat, and eating causes emotions. So you can see why people who struggle with problematic emotional eating can fall into this cycle of it's not nice, because at the end of the day, if it's going to make you have negative emotions about yourself, that's not a nice place that we want to be. So if you're somebody who does emotionally eat, you may want to look at your approach of your dieting method. Now, when a lot of the people that I give nutrition support to, I do give you an option whether you're going to use things like MyFitnessPal or not. Now, if you're somebody who does emotionally eat, things like tracking your calories on MyFitnessPal or following specific meal plans may not be the best option. This is because if you're to go off plan and your numbers don't match one day, that may trigger negative emotions that may cause you to overeat. So if you are somebody who already is prone to over emotionally eating, these approaches are probably not the best for you. So if you're somebody who is working with me and we are currently using MyFitnessPal, but as this talk goes on, that you're going to recognize yourself as actually quite an emotional eater, the next few slides should be able to help you out more. But we probably want to step away from using things like MyFitnessPal and following specific meal plans. Okay, so what we're going to look at next is mindful eating. So mindful eating is eating with attention and intention. Okay, so it's being present, it's focusing on being present with that meal and focusing on the experience of the meal and not how it affects your body. Okay, so focusing on the meal itself, not is this meal specific to my goal. Okay, food doesn't have to be viewed as how it's going to affect your body or your performance. It's food. Okay, you can be present and eat a meal without thinking about how that's going to affect you. So finding cognitive and physical satisfaction. So what I mean by that is foods that make you feel physically and mentally full. We've all been there when you've had a massive meal, you're stuffed, but you're like, what's next? What can I have next? You need to be mentally full as well as physically full. And there is ways that you can do that. So you need to find the intent of each meal and how you want to feel afterwards. Okay, so are you eating that food for enjoyment or for nourishment? A good example of this is things like when you go on holiday and you're eating what you want, you're probably drinking a lot, you're doing that for enjoyment, but afterwards you are craving healthy food. Like, you want to be like on plan, you want to eat vegetables, you want to do that things because you want to eat for nourishment. You can eat for enjoyment, but most of the time we should be looking at eating for nourishment as well. So, and then having a good awareness of how food actually makes you feel and eating in line with your values is massive. So, looking at physical versus emotional hunger. So, a lot of the time, if you're emotionally eating, you're going to be experiencing this second box. So with physical hunger, this normally is a slower, gradual onset. You normally want a variety of foods and not just one specific type. And that would peak at usual eating times. And you would normally stop when you feel full. Okay, so those things that are typical physical hunger. So if you're experiencing any of them, that's fine. Go and eat, okay? If you're having a slow, gradual build-up of hunger and you're sort of craving it and you want a meal, and it's lunchtime, that's probably hunger. That's probably fine to go and grab a meal, okay? Looking at emotional hunger then, it can come on suddenly, okay? So it's normally triggered by an emotion. It normally will leave you to crave one specific type of food, and that may be your trigger food. It can lead to overeating with no sense of satisfaction. So meaning your trigger food might be like chocolate hobnobs. Okay, so you've had a crap day, you want some chocolate hobnobs, you're probably not going to stop at a couple, are you? You're probably going to eat the whole pack. And then that would normally come with a massive sense of guilt or shame, which is not a nice place to be. So recognizing the difference between physical and emotional hunger is massive. If it is physical hunger, you're hungry, it's fine to eat. If it's emotional hunger, there are some techniques we can use to stop you eating for emotional reasons. Okay, go and ask Daddy then. Daddy would do it. Well, he's been naughty. Okay. So, right, so here's some tips to help with emotional eating. So if your emotion, go downstairs to Daddy and he's going to help you. Thank you. Come on, Daddy will get you breakfast now. So if the hunger is coming on suddenly, if it's a craving for a specific type of food, then these are some good tips that you can use to stop you emotionally eating. So identify the emotion. Okay, normally there's going to be a specific emotion that causes you to overeat. For some, it might be anger. For some, it might be sadness. For some, it might be stress. You need to identify the specific emotion. Just bear with me 1 minute. Ben, can you come and get Imogen, please? So you need to identify the specific emotion that is actually causing you to overeat. Just bear with me a second. Can you just go to Daddy to get breakfast? So once you've identified that specific emotion, there's things that we can use to help with that in future. So identify that specific emotion. What is that emotion? What is your emotion that causes you to overeat? So you can use things like emotional regulation strategies. So this is where you can list some alternative things to do when you feel that emotion. So once you've identified your emotion, so I know a lot of the time for me, boredom and stress could be my triggers to emotionally eat. So I need to think of a list of things to do when I'm bored that's going to stop me eating. And that could be loads of things, couldn't it? But a really good one is, okay, and for an example, okay, I'm feeling stressed. Instead of emotionally eating, I'm going to go outside for a walk. Because that's going to be so much more beneficial than overeating. Okay, you can also use things like mindfulness and meditation. So learning the skill of being present can allow these emotions to have different outcomes. I'm not personally someone who is very mindful of meditation. It's something that I'm actually going to be working on a lot myself. And there is other tactics you can use if you're not into meditation, but it is a massive thing that can help if you are somebody who is more mindful and does use meditation. Then these can really change the outcome of these emotions that you're feeling. And then a really big one is lifestyle changes. Okay, it's like when you go to a doctor for, you know, a headache, and they give you a pill, they're treating the symptom, not the cause. So this is what I mean by these lifestyle changes. There's no point in addressing the emotions without addressing what's causing them. If you're somebody who is commonly overeating because you're constantly stressed, but you're not getting enough sleep, you're not moving regularly, you're on social media a lot, of course you're going to be stressed a lot. And that's going to lead you to overeat. So you need to look at your lifestyle. Okay, so are you getting enough sleep? Are you drinking enough water? Are you eating the right foods? Are you being active? Are you socializing? Are you living in line with your values? All these things are going to stop you emotionally eating if you're doing all these things right. So you can always use distraction. So this is where you can redirect your thoughts away from food. Grounding. So like I said, if you're not somebody who's into meditation, grounding is another alternative. And this is something that I personally prefer to use. My mind is far too scatty to sit and meditate. Grounding is a quick, easy, and effective way. So the way grounding works, it's asking questions out loud when you're hungry. So if you feel like you're about to go and emotionally eat, ask yourself out loud, am I hungry? How am I feeling? If I'm feeling stressed and I'm like, okay, how am I feeling stressed? What do I want to do about it? I want to go and smash a pack of chocolate hobnobs. Saying these things out loud, it will make you realize, then ask yourself, how will I feel after eating this? What do I actually need? How am I actually feeling? Ask yourself these questions out loud. So find physical or emotional satiety. So you want to experiment with foods that make you actually feel full. So you need to be like tuning into how you feel throughout the day. Next, on the next few slides, the hunger fullness scale that you've got anyway on your Trainer Eyes attachments. If you've not looked at your Trainer Eyes attachments, look at there. There's some useful things I'll put on there. But the hunger fullness scale is a good one. Keeping yourself in tune with that. We're going to go through that in a minute. And then a massive one that I love, came across somebody brought this to my attention the other day, and it makes so much sense. Like, parent yourself. Would you let your child eat a whole pack of biscuits? I mean, a couple of biscuits is fine. A whole pack is a bit excessive, isn't it? Literally parent yourself. If you had a child, would you let them eat what you're about to eat? You need to look after yourself. Okay, so this is the hunger fullness scale that I was talking about. So 1, you're starving. 2, you're ravenous. 3 is like solid hunger. 4 is mild hunger. 5 is neutral. 6, you've got mild fullness. 7, solid fullness. 8, you're slightly overfull. 9, overfull. 10, you are stuffed. So you always want to be staying in the green, okay, or yellow. Between a 3 and a 7 is where you want to be at all times. Okay, so what that means is, so 5 is like you've just eaten, but you've eaten, you know, to the right amount of fullness. Okay, obviously after a few hours that's going to go down, isn't it? But never let yourself go past that 3. When you have got solid hunger, okay, so really coming into the, you know, physical hunger here. So you'll find peaks at usual eating times. If you've eaten lunch and it's getting towards dinner time, you know, you might actually be getting hungry. So when you have solid hunger, that's your time to eat. Don't let yourself get ravenous or starving, because that's when you're going to make poorer food choices. And then on the other side of that, when you're eating, don't go past fullness. It's so easy to do, and we do it for so many reasons. Like, you don't want to waste food, or there's so many reasons you might overeat, but that is not a good feeling to have. But this is why things like meal prepping, which I do advocate quite a lot, comes in really, really, really handy, because these are pre-portioned meals that you've done. Okay, so here's some other factors. We are wrapping up now. Hopefully you've had some good advice in here, and hopefully it's brought up some questions which I can help you with as well. So here's some other factors. Overconsumption is a response to over-restriction. Do not restrict certain foods from your diet, because this will ultimately lead you to overeating them. Okay, also you need to look at your planning, your schedule. Is there large gaps in between your meals? And then, of course, you're going to get over hungry if there is. Are you eating dinner close enough to bedtime? If you're eating dinner too early, of course, you're going to be snacking late at night. And are you planning your meals and snacks? That's massive. It takes away that decision fatigue. If you let yourself get hungry and you don't have a pre-planned or even pre-prepared meal there, they're very likely to choose something that you probably wouldn't have normally chosen. Also, in things like you're planning your schedule, looking at your environment. If you're somebody who can be, so if you're somebody who takes the same route into work every day, and going to work is quite stressful for you, or your way into work is quite stressful, and you're passing McDonald's, you're quite likely to nip in and grab a McDonald's breakfast because you're stressed. Could you change your route to work? That's just one example. You know, do you go into a petrol station and look at the snack counter and want to grab a chocolate bar because you're quite stressed because you're going home and you've got stuff to do and you've had a shit day? Is your environment suited to your food choices, your plan, your schedule? That's another thing to look at. So this might have brought up some questions. I'm a safe space and your coach. If you have any questions, if you feel like, actually, do you know what, I think I am somebody who emotionally eats, go back through this because there's a lot of information there. If you've still got questions, get in touch, and hopefully I've got some more tools that can help you. You know where I am for anything. Thank you for watching this. I'm going to stay in the guide section. There's going to be any more talk. So this is emotional eating. Whatever your concern is, message me and I'll do a whole slide on that for you as well. Thanks a lot, guys. Message me if you've got any questions. See you soon.